And so I applied for a job at Northwest, and I get the best of all worlds. For 9 months out of the year, I get to teach about Africa, and then for the other 3, I'm able to be in Africa. I'm a professor of political science, and I teach international relations broadly, but Africa specifically. And I'm also involved with the Emergency and Disaster Management Program, and with regard to that, I try to get people to think about going overseas to deal with humanitarian crises and natural disasters. I'm from Kansas originally and did my undergraduate there, and then that took me on a British government scholarship to the United Kingdom, and then worked for a while in the Middle East, and then tried to do guiding, African guiding, photographic safaris for a number of years. Then eventually ended up back in the States and married my wife, who's from this part of the world, and she decided rather than living in Africa, it'd be nice if we could base ourselves in the US and then frequently get to the African continent. Initially it was as an exchange student when I was an undergraduate, and so I was just taking courses to finish my undergraduate degree in political science and international studies. Subsequently, my graduate research looked at foreign policies of various countries on the continent. And then, like I said, I do photographic-based wildlife safaris. So even though I'm not formally trained in ecology, I've always been an ecologist at heart. And I thought for the longest time, the 3 months when I'm not teaching at Northwest, when I'm doing the guiding, I thought I would put an ecologist's hat on and then I have my professor hat. But in reality, how it's worked out is I'm able to pull so many things from my time on the continent into the classroom and then vice versa. So I like to think of it as I get the joy of teaching 12 months out of the year. It's just for 3 months out of the year I don't have walls or a roof to close me in as far as the classroom goes. So what I've seen and experienced there can be pulled into the classroom, and then that provides a good foundation, real-world example on which to engage students and talk about this. For example, there's a group of people called the Maasai in East Africa that I work closely with, and there's many human rights and women's rights issues that I can see and experience there, because in the state of Missouri there's an estimated, there's hundreds of thousands of people that are thought to have to go through this type of ritual which has no medical merits to it. For cultural and religious reasons it happens, and yet it's often not known or discussed in this country. But by bringing in that real world from another part of that real world example from another part of the world, it raises people's awareness to think about it in this part of the world. So it's, like I said, it's a big, diverse world, and a person has to make him or herself a little bit vulnerable to leave what you know, but it offers so many rewards once you see how you live from a different perspective, or see how other people outside looking in view how you're living. So generally it's just broaden people's perspectives. It sounds fairly basic, but people are generally people. You know, we all have our basic needs, and I guess what's been very eye-opening to me is some people think they can't go to another culture and survive, but by the very fact that those are people, they just happen to be from a different culture, shows that at a minimum, if you could learn that culture, you would be able to make do in that culture at a minimum. So I like those common feelings and views that come out once you form a relationship with somebody, even though they're on a different continent. I mean, I was the first person in my family to have a passport, and if I'd listened to everyone telling me all the reasons why I shouldn't have gone to East Africa, rather than listening to the folks that have been to East Africa, you know, my trajectory in life would have been so different. So seeing is believing. Definitely need to go and experience it all firsthand.